What's up, everybody? We're back for another episode of 50 Cents, where we just chop it up about stuff that makes sense to us 50-year-olds, because I'm 50-something.
And I'm 50-something.
And I'm 50-something.
And our guest is also 50-something, Mr. Rick Hightower.
50-something.
Well, we are so happy to be here today at the BlackLit Bookstore. Derek, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about that. I know you got some information about our gracious and wonderful host.
Yeah, so first of all, we'd like to say thank you to Nia Clark for allowing us to host our first live podcast. So thank you. Shout out to Nia. All right. So we'll definitely talk a little bit more about BlackLit and Nia's story a little bit later, but
this is nice.
This is very nice.
This is nice, nice environment.
Super nice.
Lovely
I really like
bookstore.
this.
Flashbacks of black images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and actually also in the house we have Tariq Jones, who he used to own Afro Awakenings bookstore in Arlington.
Mr. Tariq Jones, give it up. We appreciate you being out here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out.
He is my mentor.
He was saying that Emma Rogers was his mentor, is his mentor.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And Emma Rogers is none other than
My mama.
yeah.
Emma Rogers
So
is
now
my
y'all
mama.
know where he gets it from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voice of reason.
Yep.
Yes. But with that, so again, we are honored today. We have a gentleman that we have been trying to get on the show for a while. We had some challenges connecting. And so we are happy that he is joining us today. This is Women's History Month, and so we certainly acknowledge that. Again, just as schedules have coincided, we wanted to make sure we get him before he really blows up, because he's always busy. So we had to squeeze him in. So we'll give some more shouts out in terms of Women's History Month. But today we have Mr. Rick Hightower. And Rick Hightower is a coach, trainer, and mentor. He is one of the top motivational leaders and business culture creators within Texas, with over 20 years of experience with government and the entrepreneur sector. He has worked with colleges, tech and educational startups, communications companies, the eyewear market, large and small governmental agencies, churches, and Fortune 100 companies. And there's a whole lot more I could say about him in his introduction. Rick is a CPA. Rick is very, very passionate about finances and legacy
I
planning.
didn't know you were a CPA. Can I send you my taxes?
I don't know if you want to do that. I don't know if you want to do that.
I need to get them done this year. Sorry.
But no, you're good. And Rick is married to the lovely Rita Hightower, and we will give her a little shout out here a little bit later. So just stay tuned. I don't even know if she knows about that. With that, we are just gonna kind of do what we normally do. Like I tell people, we're just some 50-year-old guys just sitting around talking. But felt like we really did want to have Rick on the show today to talk about health, and then also just kind of share some of his thoughts. Again, we're just honored to have him here, so we're just going to jump right in.
So I got the first question. Brother, I've known you for a while.
Yes.
Not too close, but we've known each other for a while.
That's right.
And I have never known you to be as passionate as I have felt this reading come across to me in this book, Running While Black. I have to honestly admit, when I read this book, it was just mind-blowing for me. Because I just initially assumed it was going to be about running, because you're an avid marathoner.
I am.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to learn how to hold our breath and, take a certain amount of steps and get our times down.
Right.
But then we start reading about George Floyd. we start reading about your experiences at TCU. So what is it that you want someone who has not read your book to understand about your book? Is this simply a testimonial for you, or is this something greater beyond on just writing this book that you want people to really come away with?
Well, first, let me say thank you guys for inviting me. It's just a pleasure to be with you. I have known all of you a little while, and I want to make sure that I say thanks because I admire all of you. Derek is one of my good friends. At least I think he is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course.
Derek got a shout out in the book.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So we're going to get a shout out in the next one.
Yes, you will.
Oh,
Yes,
all
you
right.
will. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
And I've been knowing Michael a very long time, and love him and his family, and you can too.
Appreciate
been knowing
you.
you a while and your family. We were just bragging about your daughters.
Yeah, don't get me crying, man.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
Move
Don't
on,
want to do
move
that.
on.
So thank you guys for inviting me. I appreciate this. This is just a treat for me. Now to get to your answer to your question, this book was in the book. I talk about my mother, and I talk about how I lost my mother when I was 24. She was 50. And there were a lot of questions that I had for her. And I just thought I had time. And I didn't have time. And a lot of things that I just didn't ask her because, again, I thought I had time. I didn't want that to be my case. I did not want my grandkids or my granddaughter or my goddaughter to not know about me. And so I wanted to write down some of those things that I've experienced, some of those things I've done well, and some of those things I didn't do so well because I talk about that too. But I wanted a complete story from me. It would have been wonderful to have a book to read about my mother that I knew very little about. And so this is my attempt to try to correct the record on me so those who follow me can have some idea of who I am and who I was trying to be.
Well, I think you did a great job, and I actually was telling these guys in our production meeting last night that this actually needs to be a historical curriculum kind of book because it's not just Rick telling his story. It's Rick telling his universal experience within what's happening in today's society.
That's right.
And we've got so many people that are trying to eliminate our historical relevance in curriculums and in history. And I definitely would recommend this book it's just a historical read for young people going up that want to understand, about George Floyd, about all of the other people, and then experiences that you had, because I read about one of your experiences at TCU.
Yes.
Getting pulled over.
Yes.
Tell us about that if you can.
Go Frogs. Go Frogs. Go ahead.
Yeah, go Frogs. Go Frogs. That's right. Yeah.
Pony up.
Derek and I share that.
Yes.
I was a student there in my junior year, and I remember very clearly leaving the computer room. We had a computer room. We didn't have computers back then, but we had a computer room.
That's because we all 50-something.
That we 50-something. That's right.
We had smartphones.
That's
And,
smartphones.
No such thing as a laptop.
we had
at
a
that time.
room that we went to work on the green screen.
That's exactly right.
in DOS.
That's right.
So there was no computers in the computer room?
It was a squirrel running around on a little wheel that kind of made the abacus work.
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I had left the computer room, going to my apartment that was on campus, really just right outside of campus, and walking to the apartment next door, which was on McCart Street, which is a one-way street. And I see all of these cars coming up McCart the wrong way. And I'm thinking, what is this about? Because this is, you're coming the opposite way. Well, they were police cars. And they see me walking because I was walking next door to wash clothes. Our apartment didn't have a laundromat, so the one next door did. So I was washing clothes. And they see me, and they pull over, and they grab me and put handcuffs on me, all that. But get in the car, and the guy says, "We picked you up because there was a burglary at a jewelry store a block away." And they take me to the jewelry store, And I'm in handcuffs, and they said, you know, we've caught another guy, and if this guy can't identify you, then we'll let you go. Because I know I hadn't done anything. You know, my roommate was inside at the time too, and he didn't know any of this was happening outside. They take me up there, and they told me when I got there that they found the getaway car that was registered to me. They found my partner said that he had identified me, and we've been planning this jewelry store heist for a while.
Someone identified you.
That's what the police said.
Wow.
That he identified me. The bottom line is I was arrested that evening and had to go downtown Fort Worth to, you know, before a judge and all of that stuff, and spend a night in jail. And when I got in there were nothing but men that looked like me. Now, of course, I'm 19, going to be 20 at the time. And the only way I got out of that is because I had advocates. Because I was really involved at TCU at the time. You know, I knew the president, I knew a lot of the deans, I knew I was dating a woman at the time, a young girl at the time, that father was a former city councilman. So I had all these people in my corner as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old that spoke on my behalf. And then they found out that I didn't know this guy, and he never said he identified me. That's just the police talking.
Okay.
The car that they found registered to me. Now this is the part that was a little tricky. You know, of course, my name is Rick Hightower. The car was registered to Willie Hightower.
Wow.
Okay, and so the chances of you having two Hightowers on the street at the same time.
So he wasn't like a cousin. Something?
Yeah, it wasn't nothing
Cousin
like
Willie?
that. No, it was just one of those coincidences. But the bottom line is I had someone to advocate for me. And the sad part is there are a lot of us who don't have advocates.
Yeah.
They don't have people to speak up on their behalf. But that was not my case. And they erased my record and all of that stuff, and I got out of that. But it's so easy even for me at that time, it could have gone a lot differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would have been wrapped up into the system that is, we know, is unfair to people that look like me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of other young brothers, older brothers that would hear that story and say, man, I relate. So I'm glad you were able to tell that story.
Yeah.
What did you come away with from that experience? Was that something that drove you to say, hey, I'm going to write a book about this one day?
No, it didn't. At the time, I was just glad to get out of jail and get my records back and all of that. Again, I was 19, I was almost 20 at the time, and I didn't write the book until 2020. So, that's a long distance there. But I do know how important it is to have people to speak up for you, to speak on your behalf. And that's one of the things I knew if I ever did write a book, and I had never really thought about writing a book until 2019, that I needed to be an advocate for young men, 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 15-year-olds, because that's how I got out of the situation I was in, because I had people who were speaking on my behalf. And of course, I was really involved at TCU, and involved in fraternity life and student government, all those things. So people knew who I was, and so I got to be that for other people.
Gotcha.
And so, speaking of writing a book, you've written 2 books.
Yes, sir.
What was that process like for you writing those books? And because for me, writing books, people who write books, I'm very impressed by it, because it seems like such a daunting task to write a book. Yeah. So what was that process like for you, and how did you even get started?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you, Mike, for asking that question. This is one of my favorite answers when people ask me about books. I remember several years ago, Renita Weems, who is a Old Testament scholar, preacher, said that everybody has at least one book in them, okay? And I've always remembered that, okay? And so for me, in writing the first book, 26.2 Miles to Grace, How My Life Was Saved by Miracles, Marriage, and Marathons, one of the things that I said to myself when I started that process is three things. I am going to write 50 words a day. That's 4 sentences, Mike. I was going to write 4 sentences a day. Now, most days I did a little bit more than that, but there were some days I only wrote 50 words because that was my goal. And if I reached my goal, number one thing, if I reached that every day, I would be moving towards finishing the book, okay? So that was my goal. Now, there were some days I wrote 500 words or 1,000 words, but 50 words was my first goal, okay? And that's 4 sentences. The second thing I did, Mike, is I didn't tell anybody I was writing on it.
Oh, wow.
I told nobody I was working on the book. Okay?
Not even Rita?
Rita knew because she lives in the house with me. but no one.
So how much of the book is actually Rita?
Well, the first book is all Rita. You know,
Right.
tell the truth, it's all Rita because, you know, the nature of the book, I was unconscious for most of it.
Okay.
But I didn't tell anybody that I was writing it. 2 reasons. First reason I didn't tell them I was writing it is because I knew that every time they saw me, they would say, well, how's the book? And there were days I didn't want to talk about the book. I was sick of it.
Right.
And then the other thing, the second thing about that is I didn't want to take satisfaction out of the fact that I was working on a book because I knew if I got satisfaction, I wouldn't work as hard. And so the third thing,
Can you say that one more time? You knew that
if I start talking about telling my friends that I was working on a book, I would get satisfaction out of that, and I would not work as hard to complete it.
That's a good word for somebody, young aspiring writer.
Yeah, so just I was going to keep working at it because I knew when I released that book, Ken, I was going to be ecstatic, okay? I knew that, but I don't want to get the celebration right now. I want to have something first before I do that. And then the third thing is I wanted to talk to a professional, someone who had done it before, someone who had written a book, who knows about this thing, who's going to give me some tough love. And I got a little bit of that, you know, you ain't quite got it together, mister. You know, I heard that a couple times, but I needed that. And so, and then the bonus, this is the bonus, Mike, that I really learned on that first book. The bonus was the answer comes in the doing, okay? There were a lot of things in the book that only came to light after I started working on it, you know, start really trying to figure out what I want to say and how I want to say it. So you can't do it in your head. You can't think through it. You got to be working on it for the answers to come. Okay, so that is what I would start with an idea. Anybody, because everybody has a book in them. Start with an idea. Have a minimum, a minimum approach to it. Just say, I'm not going to overwhelm myself. I'm going to not tell anybody because I don't want any satisfaction out of that. And then I want to talk to somebody who's been there before.
So how long did it take you to write the book?
Probably about a year to write the first book, a little bit longer to write the second book, but the first book about a year, and then at the end of that year, I got scared because in the first book, I'm putting myself out there. I didn't want folk to, I'm not perfect, and I show in the book that I'm not perfect and all of that. So after about a year, I put it down for 30 days and was afraid to share it because I didn't think I had. Who's going to read this, Ken? Who's going to read this, Derek? What is this about? Would anybody like
just
this?
The craziness in my head.
This craziness in my head. Why would I even do this? Who do you think you are?
Right.
And then after the month, Ken, I read it and liked it. After I put it down, read it and liked it, and then started working on, getting the advice I needed, getting the editing that I needed, all of those things. So. But it took about a year on the first one. The second one, about a year and a half.
So would that be advice to an up-and-coming aspiring writer that sometimes you just need to put it down?
Yes.
Take a step back.
Yes.
And kind of understand where you are, make sure you're telling the right story, the story that you want to tell, and then reevaluate it and then pick it back up.
That's exactly what happened in my case, and it worked for me.
Excellent.
Put it down, reevaluate, look at it, and have somebody in your life, a professional, that can give you really good advice. And sometimes that advice it doesn't go down really nice.
Right.
But you need someone to tell you when you're not quite there yet.
Right.
And I had that.
Well, and that's you kind of answered my next question, which was, both I think in marathon preparation and in writing the book, kind of dealing with those struggles of negative self-talk. And so you kind of addressed that. I don't know if you want to elaborate even more.
I do. Self-talk is a big issue that a lot of us have, and I know I have it, that negative self-talk. And what I try to do, I'll tell you a quick story. When we started the Run Club at my church, St. Luke Run Club, we have, one of the things that we try to deal with is that negative self-talk. And we have 3 running groups, Ken, at our church, okay? We have the first group, which is called the fast group, okay? These are for the people that run fast, okay?
We wouldn't be in that group.
No,
we'd be in
no.
Are wheelchairs allowed in the running group?
We'd be in a walker group.
Yeah.
So that's the first group is the fast group. The second group, Ken, is the fast group. That's for the people who don't fit in.
The first group was the fast group.
That's exactly right.
And the second group was the fast group?
It's the fast group. It's for the
Any slow groups?
It's for the people who can't fit in the first group. They fit in the second group, which is called the fast group. And then for the people who can't fit in the first group or the second group, we have a third group called the fast group.
There you go.
And the reason we
I
do
think
that,
I think I got that.
yeah,
You got it.
Light bulb moment.
So he playing games.
Yeah.
He
I
hindsight.
need to take notes. You tell me it was gonna be a test on this later.
Right.
the reason we do that, gentlemen, is we don't want anybody to walk from the run club saying, yeah, I'm in a run club, but I'm in a slow group. we don't want you to do that because it starts with your language.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? And so we have 3 groups. All of them are the fast group. Okay? Now, we will come up with a 4th group if we need to. And we call that group the speed group.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought I had it. I thought I had that formula down.
Yeah. So, but it's about language. It's about that negative self-talk. Now,
Right.
one of the things that I do is when it's all in my head, I try to write it down and look at it because when I get it out of my head, I can deal with it a little bit better. And then the second thing I do is I don't go from negative self-talk to positive. I go from negative to neutral.
Okay.
Because I know that might be too much of a ground to cover to make it positive, but I go neutral because it tells me that maybe I need to come up with a plan to deal with this negative self-talk. So that's what I try to do.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I know I've been a victim of this, trying to go from 0 to 60.
Yeah.
And then when I don't get to 60, I get discouraged. And I give up. You're saying go to 0 and take the win of getting to 20.
That's exactly right.
And then take the next win of getting to 30.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well, and just like when people start working out, they automatically think after their first workout they're gonna lose every pound they gained and be all muscular after one workout.
After one workout, yeah.
And then because they don't see that progress, it's like, okay, forget it. Or people don't start running because they see the Kenyan runners. I think that's how they're supposed to run.
That's exactly right.
So I got you.
That's
I
it.
got you.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But negative self-talk is an issue, and we all have to deal with it. And so I try to not try to be overwhelmed by it.
Gotcha. So I know, and I mentioned it a little bit in the intro. And like I said, there was because I've known Rick for a while, so many things I could have said about him and could say about him, all good things. But wanted to really just jump into the conversation. But one of the things I mentioned was I know legacy building is very important for you. And there are a couple of chapters in the second book that kind of talk about the state of our community and as relates to legacy building. And a couple of chapters in particular jumped out to me. That was chapter 13, Be Like White. And then chapter 22, the payday looters. And so kind of talk about, those, what you were thinking about in those chapters and how that impacts us, our community, economically and in terms of legacy building.
Well, one of the things I was trying to address in the Be Like White approach was, the first thing that came to mind was Be Like Mike. There was a commercial with Michael Jordan advertising Gatorade and how, and it was very popular commercial, and how they wanted Michael Jordan to be every man. And the everyman concept is an idea of the average man, somebody you can identify with. And they wanted Michael Jordan to be, even though he was black, to be someone everyone can identify with. So they even shortened his name to Mike Jordan, okay, to try to deal with some of those issues. Now, what I have found, and what you guys know yourself, is that the standard has always been white, okay? And they wanted Michael to be the everyman, to appeal to whites and kids, and it was considered a watershed moment because there were little white kids walking around saying, "I want to be like Mike." Okay, and so I've always known that was the standard, and all, and so I wanted to deal with this idea of the wealth gap. Most of us know that the average black family has 10% of the wealth of average white family. Meaning, if a white family has $1, we have a dime, okay? And there's a number of historical reasons why that happens. But what I wanted to deal with is when you listen to the pundits on TV, conservative pundits, they will say, if black people could just act white, if they can just do the things that we do, we can erase this wealth gap, this big gap that we have. And 3 things they talked about that if we could do, we could erase this big wealth gap. They said if we could go to a top-tier college, that's number 1, and there's a number of things, but top-tier college. If we can leave that top-tier college and get to a great job with great benefits, retirement, pension, all of those things, and if we could buy a house. Okay? And so I wanted to test that theory. And what I found was essentially we can't do all those things in the way that white people do. Okay? And so what I say in the book is I say, top tier colleges, some of us will go to a top tier college, but a lot of us can't because our high schools are underfunded.
Right.
Okay? So we can't get to those schools that have all of those benefits, those top tier schools benefits. Only you and I could, it was only a few of us at TCU, okay?
Yep.
Not all the folk that needed to be at a school like that.
Right.
Okay? And so that was one thing. Second thing is in terms of benefits. Getting a great job. Yeah, some of us can get a great job, but we are hesitant to work with the financial system as well as the stock market because it has historically been unfair to us. We will count on real estate and insurance more so than the stock market, okay? And so that locks us out a little bit of that investment part of it, particularly when a lot of our parents were locked out of wealth building because of the New Deal and all of those types of things. And so we rely on instruments that historically don't do as well over long term. And then on the housing part, only a few of us can buy a house in a white neighborhood because when we reach a tipping point in those white neighborhoods, some believe it's 30%, Mike, then all the white people leave. Well, when they leave, that affects the housing appreciation. And so all of those things that we use to build wealth are not always available to us. And so we have to address that, but we first have to acknowledge that we have a problem there. And so that is what I wanted to talk about there. And then I ended that chapter by talking about the wealth, the initial wealth in this country was built on slave labor. There are a lot of companies that we deal with right now got their start, Wells Fargo, all those companies got started by insuring or promoting or sharing, enslaved labor. And so that wealth, we don't do it that way anymore in terms of owning people. But if we can control people, we can get wealthy that way. And that's kind of what they're doing now. So that's what I was trying to say in that chapter is that, yeah, we want to build wealth, but we can't. The problem here, and I think I say this in the chapter, the problem here is we can try to act white, but we can't be white. And that's a difference. That's a big difference.
And as part of that, kind of the evolution of that, or as part of your discussion just now, in terms of those hindrances, talk about the payday looters.
Yeah, we hear on, when you watch, the conservative, talk shows and TV programs, they always talk about the looters, okay? The looters. Now, we've heard, and with Black Lives Matter, that most of those protests were peaceful. I think there was a study done that 93% of them were peaceful, but 7% was not. And so what conservatives want to do is they want to shoot the looters, okay? But what I find is when we have, and usually you have protests when there's a social crisis, typically when we have a social crisis, we have these payday lenders that will come when you have an issue, and they will pounce and start looting our communities. That's because we have ignored these communities for so long. Redlining, this is just another way to redline organizations. I found out the company that financed my house, Ken, Wells Fargo, has like a $400 million credit line to those pawn shops. They don't do business in our community, but they will fund the pawn shop that will do business in our community. You can't get a loan with Wells Fargo and Bank of America and some of those others that fund these payday lenders, but they're involved in it. And so that's what I was trying to address there is, we don't call it redlining anymore, but payday lenders is, because it's legal, doesn't make it right. And that's kind of where I was on that.
So I've got my own personal issue with Wells Fargo.
Okay.
You guys heard this before.
Yeah.
Right.
We have.
And it's just like welling in me to come out.
Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
So,
Wells Fargo
okay.
mixed me up with another customer with my name
Okay.
and put their bankruptcy in my credit file.
Ooh.
So my credit took like, a Brazilian high cliff diver.
Yes.
My credit just went boom. And I fought with them for about 5 years to try to get that off my credit report, and they refused. Yeah. Literally refused. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Wells Fargo is problematic in a lot of ways. Of course, their start was to insure and to support, enslaved labor.
Yeah.
And they were very reluctant to bring that to the table. And we still have issues with Wells Fargo in terms of the housing crisis, targeting black homeowners, and with these high risky loans and all of that. So they have a problematic history, not only just with you, my brother, but with a lot.
And not just me.
Just not just you.
And you remember, not too long ago, they were, some of their bankers were incentivized to just kind of randomly open accounts and do different things, and that were, they had to end up paying a lot of people back a lot of money.
We need a representative from Wells Fargo to come on the show.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
We'll work that out. We'll
So-
get that happening.
Yeah. We
50 million, Your Honor.
we got a running joke. All roads lead back to slavery. So
Yeah.
I challenge anybody. Any issue you come up with, I can trace it back to slavery.
That
That
great-
challenge has been out there. Nobody can answer it. But
That great modern day philosopher, Dr. Michael Hubbard.
Michael Hubbard.
Dr. Michael Hubbard.
But-
All roads lead back to slavery.
But in your second book, Running Wild Black, you speak a lot about racism. And, as black men, we know that that's a real thing and that it's happening. But how do you feel? Where are we as a people in the face of that? Are you optimistic? Do you think there's hope? Is there? Because honestly, if you listen to us, I'm not optimistic about it. I don't think it's gonna change. But how do you feel in the face of all this racist, systemic? Now it's more systemic than anything. So is there hope for us?
Well, I love you, my brother. I really do, and I always have. And I value your opinion. I value your approach. I really like when I listen to you and your thoughts and your thought process. But in this case, I am really proud of us. I think when you look at the community and what is being done, there are a lot of good work with a lot of people doing some good things. And yes, there are a few of us that need to be told a different story or tell ourselves a different story. But I think that for the most part, we have, when you look at 246 years of slavery, of the enslaved, and for us to be in this beautiful bookstore owned by a black woman who's right over there.
Yes.
You can't be nothing but hopeful.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I am. I do agree with you, however, that there are a number of us that need to be telling ourselves a different story. And we are a collection of the stories we tell ourselves. And so what I'm hopeful of is the fact that there are a lot of folk doing good work and that we continue to do this good work, but this good work has always been done. And the fact that sometimes we don't get along and we don't agree on certain things, that has always been the case. Even in the 60s, they didn't agree on everything. They were upset with each other. They fought about a lot of stuff, but there were some fundamental things they agreed on, and that's where we made progress on. And so I am hopeful. I am hopeful that we can continue this progress we can make. We can have more black bookstores and black companies, black eyewear companies that are starting. I'm hopeful that will happen. And if we continue to work and we tell ourselves a different story, I think that can happen.
And that's a great segue, because this segment of 50 Cents was brought to you by none other than
I Do Eyewear, which was founded on the principle of providing fashionable and affordable optical quality eyewear, providing impeccable customer service while contributing and giving back to our community. We believe everyone can look stylish, glamorous, funky, and fantastically unique without it costing a fortune. Hence, we are dedicated to those committed to fashion or who want to be. I Do Eyewear is owned and was founded by Rick Hightower, who is from Oak Cliff. So I got some backup now. I got some backup now. I got some Oak Cliff backup. So I know you from the Bronx.
She's not from,
was
that Singing Hills?
See, now watch yourself. Watch yourself. She's familiar with Singing Hills though. So yes, we thank you, Rita, for sponsoring that first part of the
So how can people get some of those glasses?
So IDoEyewear.com.
IDoEyewear.com.
And that is EYEDOEYE.com. Oh, I'm sorry. I said I do I. My bad. IDoEyewear.com.
Right. You're the most articulate out of all of us.
Just spell it out. Come on, man.
He 50 something.
He be telling us in the background how to pronounce stuff. Man, you didn't say that right.
There was nothing wrong with my enunciation. It's just I gave the wrong website. So don't go to I Do I. Go to IDoEyewear.com.
The world.
Because I can't guarantee what you're going to see on I Do I.
Oh, boy.
But I Do Eyewear, we know what you're going to see. Okay?
So I just want to know, do you do men's glasses as well?
Absolutely. I actually have 3 pairs.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why you look so funky and cool
when I wear my glasses. Indeed, that is true. That is what I am known for.
Okay.
But this is, I think, a good time because I want to talk a little bit about the first book.
Yes.
And part of the timing of having Rick is kind of I won't say coincidental, but it is a significant timing, and you'll kind of understand as we kind of walk through a few things. So,
in the meantime, I have a question, because in your second book, I was really impressed with the history that you included, and it's almost a history lesson.
Yes,
and I wanted to know how did you come to. What made you weave in that history with your personal experiences?
Just thinking about it now, the answer came in the doing. I thought about, I know I had a story to tell, and I knew that, starting the book, the hardest part of this book, Mike, was coming up with the introduction. It really was. I came up with all the other chapters before I came up with the introduction. Wow. Because what I wanted to do is I knew that I have lived this history. I know what year I was born in and what happened in the civil rights movement, and then how a lot of those things that happened then are happening now. And then there's this movement to move against, talking about Black history. Well, now, the reason you don't want to talk about it because we're repeating a lot of that history right now. And so I wanted to connect the 19th. I think I have a saying in one of the chapters. I say in one of the chapters that the 2020s is a new 1960s because we're doing some of the same things, same issues, same problems. And so I wanted to just take my life through all of those issues that I've learned. I didn't find out I was Black until I was 20 years old. Wow. That's when I found out I was Black because I grew up in a Black neighborhood, Black high school, Black elementary school. My mother, I don't ever remember my mother talking about white people at all. At all. It was not necessary. We just never, I don't ever remember her saying anything.
Right. So is it a matter of not, because that's a profound statement, right? I've always thought, just transparently, being a child from an interracial family,
right,
that I was alone in this elongated understanding of who I was. So was it a matter of not so much understanding or knowing that you were Black, but was it a matter of understanding that there are differences?
I knew that there were differences, but it didn't matter to me because of my day-to-day. My day-to-day, in my high school, Ken, there was one white guy, William Nichols. And he was a small guy. He was undersized. He was probably
so
4 or 5.
You remember his name?
Yeah, I just remember William Nichols. One white guy.
Nichols.
And so it was never an issue with me at all. It never came to my attention. It's almost like this, when you buy a new car, you buy a red Corvette, and then all of a sudden, that's all you see is red Corvettes. Well, all I saw were Black people. So that's the only thing that came to my mind were other Black people. Okay, it was nothing against anybody. Like you can be for something and not against something else. You can be for Black Lives Matter and not be against the police.
Right.
So it was just never came to my attention. Came to my attention when I got arrested, though. Okay.
Wow.
To get back to that came to my attention because of who I was and the fact that they make accusations that were not even. They could have easily checked out.
Yeah.
So that was your Tiger Woods moment, huh? And they had to you were reminded that you Black, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, thankfully there was no golf club
involved,
no beating,
not a 9
and all of that. So yeah, thankfully. So I do want to again kind of talk about the first book, 26.2 Miles to Grace.
Yes. How
my life was saved by miracles, marriage, and marathons. So obviously, again, with both books, running is a big part of your life. And so what did attract you to running as opposed to, some other endeavor, picking up tennis or racquetball or something? What attracted you to running?
Well, I've always ran a little bit. Okay. I mean, even in college, I would do 5-10 miles a week, something like that. I remember that. Not a lot, but, a little. So I've always ran. I was in the military, so we ran in that a little bit too. But in 2000, I decided I was going to run my first marathon. And the reason I decided that was it was impossible. How could anybody run 26.2 miles, okay? You're going to be out there 4 to 5 hours. Who could do that, Mike? Who could
Not
do
me.
that? Yeah. So that I knew it was impossible, so I was going to try the impossible. And that's the reason I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So how does marathon training help you with marriage and vice versa?
When I got to be careful here because my wife is here.
Yeah, no, that's what.
So I don't want to say anything wrong here.
Do we need to give her the mic?
Sure.
Didn't we give her the extra
we got-
mic?
we do have a mic over
Don't
there.
give her the mic.
Don't give her the mic,
No,
okay.
no. Don't
I need to write this down.
She just give him that look.
Don't give her the mic.
He'll know he's going down the wrong path.
Wrong path,
So,
that's right.
So it's all good. Go ahead.
Well, part of the thinking on the marathon was that it was impossible, but also part of thinking about the marriage that marriage is going to be impossible too, because I didn't have a lot of role models. My mother and my stepfather didn't quite get it together. You know, he was a good man, she was a good woman. They just didn't do marriage well. My sister didn't do marriage well, so I didn't have a lot of role models, and so that makes it tougher. But I intuitively knew that in terms of marriage, that I gotta find something that works for me. My wife Rita has come from a long, successful line of people who are married, been married a long time. So I thought she could lead the way a little bit, and she has. But again, I didn't have a lot of role models, but I knew that if just like marathon, if I get the right training,
Right.
okay, and adapt it to me, this might be able to work. You know, this might, if I can follow a plan, I'll put my head down and I'll go to work. But it was impossible, just like marathon is.
So why running though, as opposed to something else?
Golf.
It's easy, man. It's just easy. I can get running shoes, a hat, some glasses, my running watch, and I'm out the door. It's just
Okay.
easy. It was easy for me. And also, you know, I have never been a great eater. You know, my diet has not been very good, and so I was trying to run away from that diet a little bit. And so that was part of the reason I decided to do running. But it was an easy process for me.
Okay.
So in the book, you talk about this concept of running pretty.
Yes.
What is running pretty?
Yes.
I'd like to know.
I'd like to know.
I won't run, but I just.
How do you
I just
run
wanna
pretty?
Sit and be pretty.
Yeah, just to be pretty. That was a concept I came up with. You know, we talked about this a little bit about language. I wanted people. Essentially, running pretty is the idea of running form. Okay, you know, when we are teaching people in our running group, our running club to run, we want them to run relaxed. You know, with their head up. Okay, and with their arm natural swing and all of that. But the whole concept of running pretty is really about how you feel about yourself. The fact that you're taking care of yourself. I'll tell you a quick story. My son Corey has taken up running later in life. And it just made me just delighted, okay? And so we were on vacation. We were on Martha's Vineyard, and we were running. We had decided we were going to run an 8-mile run. And we headed out, and we do this thing Ken called the interval running, where we run 2 minutes and we walk 2 minutes, and we have about an 11-minute pace. Okay, so we were running, and we were due for our walk break, the 2-minute walk break. But I could see in the distance there were 4 women walking towards us, and of course, being a brother, I'm gonna keep running.
Right.
And I knew my son, you know, would do the same thing because he cut from the same cloth, you know. So we see these 4 women running, and we are running, and you know, we're trying to, you know,
Trying to run pretty.
And so I get really close to the women, and the first woman I see is Gail King, Oprah's bestie.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And then the second woman I recognize is Valerie Jarrett, who is Barack Obama's special assistant.
Okay.
But what really got my attention was the third woman.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And this third woman was tall. She had a really big hat on and good looking.
Okay.
And she had her head down, but it's good looking. And the fourth woman I didn't recognize because probably Secret Service.
Okay.
So whatever it would take to run pretty in front of the first lady, that's what running pretty is. Because me and Corey was running pretty
running
that
pretty.
day. Okay.
Wow.
So this actually, what I've heard through the grapevine, you've actually got a nickname,
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
right? Called.
Oh, yeah.
Called.
Pretty Ricky.
Pretty Ricky.
Pretty Ricky.
Pretty Ricky.
Oh my
Not
God,
only
I knew
does he run
somebody-
pretty, he's pretty Ricky.
Does that come from the running or?
That's the running thing.
That's the
because I
running thing,
came up
okay.
with the-
Yeah, it's just from the running.
Yeah, running, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's from the running.
Running pretty, yeah.
So, Ken,
So-
maybe we can walk pretty.
Yeah.
Can we walk pretty?
We can walk pretty. We can roll pretty. A couple of wheelchairs.
Okay. So so now we have the concept of running pretty.
Yeah.
And there is now kind of the opposite
I
of
get that
that.
concept down. Running pretty. You're not sweating
No, you sweating.
and stuff coming out your
Well,
nose.
put it this way. So I'll
Drooling.
tell just
No, none of that?
just to let our
You got a
listeners.
pretty smile. That's what it is. I'm just gonna smile when I run by.
Oh boy.
Running pretty.
So just to let our listeners know, I
Yes.
told you I've known Rick for a while. So I actually trained with Rick and I did some marathons with him years and years ago. So I know the concept and I know he's sweating, but he's sweating pretty.
Oh, boy.
When he runs.
It's like shiny
now,
sweat,
me, it's not as pretty. I'm just gonna tell you.
It's like shiny sweat
I'm looking
with,
like I'm struggling.
glitter in it, right? You sweat glitter.
I'm waiting for the next break, and so, but that was a while ago. But anyway, so and having been a participant in your or benefiting from your training
Yes.
as a coach.
Yes.
So I know there's another concept, or not so much a concept, but something that happens for distance runners.
Yes.
It's called the wall.
Yes.
Now, talk about the wall. What is the wall?
Well, the wall is something you don't want to run into, okay? And this is not the wall that's at the southern border. It is the wall that happens usually around the 20 or 21 mile mark. And essentially what happens is, technically, acid builds up in your muscles and your whole body locks down. You can't really walk almost. Wow. And it hits you at 20, 21 miles, typically that. And there's some technical reasons why that happens, but the bottom line is you can't go any further. You will see some people rolling on the ground. You'll see people crawling to the finish line. You'll see all of that just to overcome that wall. And so what you do is you try to train that you don't have that happen to you. And so I have ran to what I believe is the wall at 2021. But if you can get through the wall, what happens, and this is fascinating to me, mile 22, mile 23, mile 24 is easier than mile 21. Now, there's a saying in the marathon community that at mile 20 of a 26.2 mile race, the race at mile 20 is half over, because that last 6 miles are tough because it includes that period of 2021. And so what you do is you train to try to get through that. But essentially, your body locks up and you can't go any further. You almost have to drop out. And there have been several marathons, and I've run 28 or 29, where you get to 21, you say, I got to get through this.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes back to kind of, the conversation about the negative self-talk. How you
absolutely.
do have to talk yourself through it. And like I said, I can personally attest to it because I hit the wall every marathon I did.
Right.
Somehow was able to get through it, but it is, especially the very first marathon I did, I hit the wall. And, one of the things I've learned, and this is just in life, you got to run your race.
Yes.
I can't run, and when I say your race, you have to run your own race. I can't run
That is
Rick's
true.
race.
That's right.
I can't run Ken's race. I can't run Mike's race. I
You
just
don't
have to
wanna
run
run my race.
Right.
My wall is about a mile and a half. Bang.
Ken can't even run his race.
Right. But that said, you have to run your race. And what made that hit home for me, again, that very first marathon, because I got to that 20 mile, cramped up really, really bad, had to
Man.
stop for a while.
Yeah.
Kind of got it going. And then I'm at mile 23. And I kid you not, this lady about 70 years old
Oh, boy.
ran by me like I was standing still. Boy, you talk about being mad. And then I tried to keep up with her, and I got some more cramps, so I had to sit on the side again.
That's right.
Run your race.
Run your race.
Know thyself.
Oh, that's it.
So-
No, but that's interestingly interwoven in what you talked about earlier about understanding and taking those small wins as you go. In running a marathon, as you're talking and as Derek's talking, I'm seeing the correlations between what you've written and what you're doing, and how you've taken that everyday practicality of life, you've applied it to real world events, but you didn't make it all about you. You made it about, at least from what I've read and how I interpret it, you made it about how we need, as a collective community, how we need to look at these things and then go forward in our approach to them. So I definitely recommend the book as just a good read, especially for some of our young folk, right? Because
I agree with you, my brother, in that we are a collection of the stories we tell ourselves.
I wrote that down.
Yeah. We're a collection of the stories that we tell ourselves. So we have to really be careful about the stories that we're feeding our mind. I mean, one story that I thought of last night was one of the stories. I used to have this thing when I got sick. One of the stories I've always believed, and some of the stories that we believe are not true. I've always believed that, I used to call it Vicks Salve, but it's Vicks Vapor Rub. Okay.
Just like,
I think we all know about Vicks, right?
right.
And
Is there anyone in here that doesn't know about Vicks?
Vicks, right.
We will explain it to you if you
And
don't.
so I learned that, when I got sick and my mother would come to me with the Vicks Salve or the Vicks Vapor Rub, she would put a little on my lip and she would rub my chest down. And I knew that in 24 hours I was going to feel better, okay? Well, there have been several studies, and so I swear by Vicks Vapor Rub most of my life. But there have been various studies recently that says there's no medicinal benefit of Vicks Vapor Rub.
Wow.
Now, it may be soothing because your mother is rubbing your chest, but it has no helpful benefits. But that's a story I've been telling myself all these years.
Wow.
And so we have to be careful about the stories we are telling ourselves. And that is what I am trying to do. I'm trying to question the things that I have always believed to be true, because some of the things I believed are true are not true.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what happened to you on March 7th, 2015?
Well, on March 1st, 2015, I had signed up for a ultra marathon, and I had never run an ultra marathon before. That's 31 miles.
Wow.
Okay, I had never run that. And the marathon on March 1st was canceled because that week in Dallas and Fort Worth, it was the Cowtown Ultra Marathon. It was canceled because the weather was horrible. It was a lot of ice, a lot of snow that weekend, and so they canceled the race, okay? And so I had been training for that ultra marathon that I had never run. And I had gotten up to 24, 25 miles in my training, felt good about it. You don't have to run the entire thing when you're training. And so felt good, it was canceled. So I was in decent shape. And so immediately after canceled, I tried to find a new marathon. And I was gonna run one at the end of May or June. I tried to find another one to replace the one that was canceled. So the night before, on March 6th, I'm having a conversation with my wife, Rita, and the next day they were gonna have a march at downtown Dallas celebrating the Selma to Montgomery, Edmunds Pettus Bridge celebration. It was 50 years that year. And so she said, Rick, I'm gonna go downtown, I'm gonna catch an Uber, and what I'll do is I'll meet you downtown and we'll have lunch after you finish your run, because that next morning, I had planned on the 7th to run 20 miles, okay? Run 20 miles, and my approach is after a 20-mile run, I typically take a long bath, usually 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, okay? So she knows my process. She said, well, after you get out of your bath, just meet me downtown and we'll have lunch. So I finished my 20-mile run. I buy new shoes. It's like driving a new car when you buy new running shoes. And it was a good run, felt great, tired. 20 miles is 20 miles, but tired. But when I got back to the house, I started running my water, okay? Running my bath water. And I'm sitting on the tub, and all of a sudden, I'm feeling uncomfortable, Derek. I'm feeling like, not in pain, but just feel like my chest is, just someone is sitting on my chest. So I immediately knew something was wrong, so I get on the phone and I call Rita. She's downtown, remember. She's at the march, and I say, hey, listen, honey, I don't think I'm going to be able to pick you up. And she says, what's wrong? And I say, well, I'm uncomfortable. I don't, something's going on here. I don't know. And she immediately says, call 911. And I say, no, I don't need to call 911.
Yeah.
I'm cool. But I knew when I hung up the phone, she said, well, I'll be right there. Well, now she's downtown. She's in a march. It's a parade, essentially. And so she's got to find a place to get an Uber or a cab to get back to Carrollton to see about me. So I knew that I would be going to the hospital that day when I hung up the phone. And so when I got off the phone, I laid on the floor to try to get some relief. Laid on every floor I could find, okay? 45 minutes to an hour later, Rita walks in the door because she's trying to get back to North Dallas.
And you hadn't called 911.
I hadn't called 911. So I'm sitting, I knew that as soon as she walks through the door, we're gonna have to run to the hospital, okay? So she comes through the door, she says, let's go. And so we jump in my car, and she's driving, and she says, now Rick, you guys know Rita, so she's pretty assertive sometimes. Now Rick,
Just a little.
yeah, just a little, just a little. She says, you tell them you're having chest pains. Now, we never talked about chest pains, but she knew intuitively that if you tell them you got chest pains, they're gonna jump on you,
Right.
okay? So we get to the hospital, the lady asks me, can I help you? I tell her I got chest pains. They rush me in the back, and they start giving me oxygen and said, well, based on what you're telling us, Mr. Hightower, it looks like you've had a heart event, but we're gonna send you upstairs. I get upstairs and I talked to a cardiologist, and he said, I remember very clearly him saying, I got good news, Mr. Hightower, and bad news. The good news is I know what happened to you. The bad news is on March 7th, to answer your question, I had a heart attack. And but I started feeling better. They did an angioplasty, got me back downstairs, and I was in the hospital for about 3 days.
Wow. So you had already been running.
Yes, I ran 20 miles that day. Remember?
Wow. Okay.
So, my diet has always been great, but, I wasn't really overweight per se. I run a lot. I try to watch my diet. I'm not always successful. But here I am with a heart attack, man, on March 7th.
So did the doctor say that running helped save you?
Ultimately, that's what he said to me. My cardiologist said that to me. He said, because you had one of your valves that was 95%, or arteries 95% closed.
Wow.
The others were really efficient.
Wow.
Because I've been using them, been pumping that blood through them, And he said, ultimately, the fact that you run like you did helped save your life.
Wow.
So fast forward to March 14th,
Yes, sir. 7 days later.
7 days later.
Yeah. Well, I was in the hospital the first time for 3 days. I got out on a Tuesday. Okay. They told me when I was in the angioplasty, the first day I was there, said, well, we're going to keep you, Mr. Hightower, for about 3 days. You'll get out Monday or Tuesday. So I expected that. I get out Tuesday, and I am really, really tired. Okay. Because again, when I run 20 miles, Ken, I need about 2 days to recover. Okay. And so I get out Tuesday. I'm really tired, and every night that week, I would start out in the same bed with my wife, and because when I'm tired, I snore, okay? And sister girl likes her sleep, okay? So she would always send me to the second bedroom. So on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night, I start out in our bedroom, but I end up in the second bedroom, okay? So we had friends out of town. They were the whole week, and they came back and said, we got to see you, we got to see you, we got to see you. And so we decided we were going to meet out. I felt like I would be up to it. We were going to meet out and talk about the week and all of that. And so we go to dinner on Friday. And if you can bet, I ate something really, really healthy, Okay, so we meet out Friday. We have a great visit. We leave there around 11 o'clock, and we get home 11:20 or so, 20 minutes from the restaurant. And Rita, my wife, says something really curious to me, Derek. She says, "We're going to sleep in the same bed all night tonight." Now, I don't know where that came from, because this woman likes her sleep, and I like mine, okay? She likes her sleep so much that she has a ritual, Derek, that
Now, make sure you don't get in trouble.
Okay,
Make sure she's not giving you that look, because
No,
you might be saying stuff you don't need to say.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. She
all
giving
right.
you that look?
Just make,
No, she's good. She's fine. She's fine.
okay, all
The
right.
ritual is
You told this story before.
Yeah, I've told
Go
the
ahead,
story.
go
And
ahead.
it was fine. It was fine.
It was fine.
Guys, it
All
was
I'm just
fine.
trying to make
It was
sure
fine.
now.
It was fine. It was
It's a
fine.
He
different
don't
audience.
want you to hit the wall.
Yeah, I don't want to hit the wall.
Yeah, it's a different
You
audience
don't
today,
want the
Jack.
wall hitting you.
I want the wall hitting me. That's right. So her ritual is when she hears me snore, she will say, she'll call my name first. Rick. Okay.
Not pretty, Ricky?
Not pretty Rick.
Not pretty
No, because it's usually in the middle of the night. So it's Rick. And if that works, then cool. But if it doesn't work, she'll say, go to the second step, which is Rick, and then she will elbow me in the side. Now she says she nudges me. It's an elbow, brother. Okay.
Okay.
And then the third thing,
Love tap.
if those love tap. First, the third thing that happens, and sometimes it goes there. She will invite me to the second bedroom.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Invite you.
Yeah, invite me.
Invite you.
Yeah, to the second bedroom.
But she's not going.
She's not going to be there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She's inviting you there.
No, she's inviting me there. So, so we get home at 11:20, bruh. We probably sleep at 11:45, and Rita is wakened the next morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock, by what she believes is snoring initially. Okay, and then she looks over at me. I am face down with blood coming out of my mouth and gasping for air, and I was in the midst of having a massive heart attack. This is 7 days after the first heart attack.
So you had 2 heart attacks.
2 heart attacks.
And they did a procedure after the first one. Is that
They did. They put the artery stents. Thank you. Stents in my arteries. I had 2 stents and a couple balloons put in.
Wow.
But massive heart attack. Rita jumps out of the bed, calls 911. Okay. And the 911 operator says, they're on their way, but you got to go to work. So my wife turns me over and starts CPR. Okay. Now, can you imagine being over someone you love or even like having to do that? Okay. It's just amazing. And so I'm out. The 911 operator says, do not, Rita says to the 911 operator, I hear them, hear the ambulance coming. And the 911 operator says, do not go to the door. This is important. Do not go to the door until they're at the door. Okay? Because Rita was saying she hears them. She can go to the door and let them in. Do not go to the door until you hear them knocking. And so when they get close to the door, Rita jumps up, opens up the door.
So she was still doing CPR.
She's still doing CPR.
So they didn't want her to stop.
They didn't want her to stop. That's the point. That's the point. Because you have 10 minutes to make a difference in someone's life.
Wow.
10 minutes. And so for every minute you lose, that's 10% of a chance of you surviving. So if you wait 5 minutes at the door on them, that's a 50-50 chance that I might survive. Wow. I may not survive. And so she tells them they're at the door. She jumps up. She lets them in. They come in. It's about 3 or 4 guys, and they start working on me. And my heart stopped during that time. And they got the defibrillator out, and they start shocking me. And before long, Rita says she's in the great room, and she's praying, and Carrollton police come to our house and essentially ask Rita, and I just think I just love telling this part of the story. The Carrollton police come to our house. They're standing in our foyer. Rita is kneeling in our great room, praying, and she stands up. She turns around. She sees these 3 police officers, and they ask her, is there anybody you want us to call? And she says, it's just breathtaking, and she points up, I've already called him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then she said at that time, after she says that, she hears them in the bedroom saying, I got one. And it got my heart to start again. So it was a big deal, bruh.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal.
So did Rita have CPR training before that?
On the job.
Wow.
No,
She said
she did not
on
have
the job
she did not,
CPR
yeah,
training.
yeah.
She had not had any training.
Any
prior.
training. She just got to work, man. Got to work. Yeah.
You
got to
married the
work.
right woman, brother.
I did, man. I married up.
You got a sister? I'm sorry.
We'll talk about
Did
that.
I say that out loud?
after the show?
Yeah, did you say
we'll,
that out loud?
we'll talk about that after the show.
yeah.
We'll talk about that after the
He,
show.
he can't help himself.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Man, that is powerful, though. That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And you know, as you reflect on, and one of the things I really, really love that you did, or that you and Rita did in the book, in your first book, was how Rita actually got the chance to write her story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that was, I hadn't seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
That was really powerful.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, just a great testimony. Again, knowing you guys, I had to turn my head a little bit. Y'all can't see because I was welling up myself knowing the story. So, but again, just so powerful, that story. So, how are you now? Tell people what's going on with you now. How have you changed your lifestyle?
Yeah.
All of that.
Yeah. Well, this week has been my doctor's week, okay? I saw my cardiologist. I saw my rhythm, my heart jumped off of rhythm. I saw my rhythm doctor today, this week. I went to the dentist, okay? And went to my general practitioner, too, this week. So
All right.
it's my doctor's week. So I am one of those guys, talking about guys who are in their 50s, trying to take care of themselves. I do not miss doctor's appointments, bro. Okay. Now, there's something to be said about having access to health, because many of us don't have that. And I have been blessed with, a pretty good plan. So, but I go to the doctor, man, and I have changed some major things. One of the first things I changed after having those heart attacks was I stopped drinking Mountain Dew. I would drink a Mountain Dew every day.
Wow.
Yes. Every day. I do not drink Mountain Dews. And then for a while, I would drink a little bit of caffeine. Now I've cut out all caffeine. Really? Okay? Don't do caffeine anymore. All right? I have cut way down my pork, even though, every now and then.
Gotta have a
get
piece
a
of
pork
bacon.
chop,
Just
man.
A little piece of bacon.
Just a little bacon.
Yeah, a little bacon.
And I've been trying to cut down on my chicken a little bit. Okay.
Interesting.
And
Not chicken.
Yeah, chicken, bro. Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah. So there are some things that I'm doing with my diet that I'm much better at now. But I did read something just a little while ago about 3 foods you should never eat. And of course I read on, and the author was saying there are no bad foods. It's just the degree of what you get into them.
How much?
Yeah,
Your
how
portion.
much you push. But the 3 foods that you should, they said, if there were a list.
I'm scared to hear
Okay.
Go ahead.
If there was a list,
All right, go ahead.
the number 1 food on that list, and maybe not in any order, is French fries.
Oh, my Lord.
Go ahead. No, just finish the list. Wait. Finish the list.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I bet you we all had
Emotional damage.
within an hour or so. I had all 3 as a snack.
Man, don't you like us?
Yeah. So that's the first thing is French fries, and that's a problem for me.
Wow.
And the second thing they said, if there was a list, it would be white bread. Now, I've cut out white bread.
Yeah.
I don't eat white bread, but I like bread, okay? And then the third thing on the list is sugary cereal.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, that's a little bit of a challenge for me too, but I'm trying to do better.
What's your favorite cereal?
I hate to even tell you, bruh. I knew you were
Come
going to
on.
ask.
Lucky Charms.
Oh, my God.
Ah, there you go.
No.
No?
Fruit Loops.
Frosted Flakes.
Fruity Pebbles. Jesus.
Just little balls of food.
My God.
I didn't even know they still made fruit.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Shoot.
Okay.
But my diet has gotten better, bro. My diet has gotten
good.
better, and I'm trying to watch it. I'm really trying to watch it, and I've never had an issue with working out, so I work out a lot.
still running?
Yeah, I still run a lot.
Marathons?
Run marathons. Ran a half marathon last weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'll tell y'all this. So, back in 2015, so about 6 months after the second heart attack, I'm just checking in, call Rick, say, hey man, what's going on? Oh, he said, I'm good. I just finished doing 13. He was doing a training run. I said, what? Should you be sitting down somewhere? Wow. But again, running helped.
Yeah.
With the process of his recovery and again sharing some inside information. Dude runs at least 1 or 2 marathons a year.
That's right.
At least,
That's
and
right.
a couple of halves as
That's right.
well.
That's right.
And just the training runs, because like I said, I remember when we were training, we ran a lot, and man, just glad you are doing well.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
So I knew about the first heart attack. I didn't know about this thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was 2 episodes. like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that
Yeah.
you're here. So
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Do us and everyone else a favor. Look
Yes.
right into that camera.
Yes.
We got a number of 50-something-year-olds, males,
Okay.
that listen to us.
Okay.
Right? What would you tell the African-American 50-something-year-old man about making sure he stays on top of or recognizing health concerns?
Well, that is a great question, and it's a question that I thought about a little bit, but it is really important to say that I'm here at BlackLit, this beautiful bookstore, with this beautiful young woman who is the owner of this bookstore. And the first time I came with Derek and his mother. And one of the things that I bought when I was here was this T-shirt that Derek has on right now, and I have it on myself. And what I love about this T-shirt, if I can read it for him, it says, and this is to answer your question directly. Hey, black man, you are not alone. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are heard. And don't believe the lie. They talk about you. They are scared of you. They are afraid of you. But you got people that love you, and they want the best for you. One of the best stories I heard was from Brian Stevenson, civil rights attorney, over the Montgomery Museum. And he tells a story of his grandmother. And his grandmother was stereotypical, strong, and loving, and hard, and all of the things that grandmothers are. And he says every time he would see her, she would end the visit with a big hug, just a big hug. He said it was almost, he would almost wince because she would hug him so tight, And he said every time he saw her, she would give him this big hug, and he would, grandmother, you're squeezing me. And he said every time he saw her, he said, so she lived to old age, and she was on a deathbed, and he was visiting her, and he's sitting by the bed, and he thought, okay, now if I keep talking, she won't die. 'Cause this is my beloved grandmother. If I just keep talking. And so he was talking, and she's just laying there not saying anything with her eyes closed. And his family came in and said, Brian, you can't keep talking to her like this all night. And he says he stopped talking, and he stood up, and he was about to walk out, and his grandmother said, Brian, do you feel me hugging you? And that is what I want to say to black men. I want you to feel me hugging you. I want you to have that in your life. I want people to care about you. You are targeted. We know that. But yes, even us, 50-somethings, we need folk to hug us, okay? we need support. We need folk who are lifting us up. And that's what I want to say to that young man or that young woman even. that is going through, I want to say that you are loved, and we are hugging you real tight, real tight.
That's excellent.
One of your reflections in Running While Black was called Mile Repeats. Now, I wonder if you could read that for us, and that will close us out in Running While.
Oh, that's right, the wrong book. That's right. Grab the right book here.
He's written so many books.
Yeah, I mean,
Which book is it, bro?
Well, we
Can you tell me?
we took a little bit of detour in,
Yeah,
from
I think it's 23, I believe it is. When training for a marathon, one principal workout as a runner is a speed session called mile repeats. This is where runners will run a mile, jog or walk a lap, and repeat running another mile. Usually mile repeats are run on a track. You will run 4 times around the track, 1 mile, and walk or jog a lap, and then run 4 more around the track. You would repeat this until you finish the number of repeats desired. For example, 4 times 1 means running 1 mile, walk or jog a lap, and then running 3 more miles. This speed session and other training sessions prepare you to run fast, because the only way to learn how to run fast is to run fast. It prepares your legs for quick turnover and can be exhausting. Mile repeats are one of the best speed workouts you can do to run a faster marathons. Marathoners popularized this in the 1980s. They've been using to build runner strength. Mile repeats are a nice break from doing long, slow distance workouts to prepare for a marathon or a half marathon. They help you to work on your race rhythm and build stamina and muscles and energy systems needed to sustain speed. Some training methods will have you run up to 10 mile repeats and beyond, 10 times 1. This repetitive training process can be repeated only so often because it will lead to overtraining. It would also lead to physical and mental drain. The killing of black men in America is similar. We're experiencing the same thing over and over and over again. If you ask someone about the black man shot last night, your response could be, which black man? Are you talking about the one shot yesterday or 2 days ago? Are you talking about the one shot by the police? Are you talking about the one that shot by the security guard? Are you talking about Jalen Walker, who was shot over 60 times by Akron police? What about the black man killed in San Bernardino by police, showing him running away from the police when he was shot? Or what about the police chief on a leaked video bragging that he shot a black man 119 times? Which one are you talking about? In training for a marathon, you typically do mile repeats early to the middle of your training. When you get closer to the marathon, you must stop because they are taxing your body and you need time to recover. In addition, you don't want to do them too close to the race because the wear and tear on your body and mind, you can't go into a big race fatigue. So here's my request. Please stop killing black men. This is taxing on my mind. I feel the wear and tear on my body. It has become routine to hear stories of black men killed by police. It is heartbreaking to listen to the account of the unarmed black man killed. These killings are too much. So please, I beg you to stop. Would you please stop now? We are exhausted and we need time to recover.